دکتر مبلغی حال خوب انشالله.
عرض ادب. حال شما خوب؟ الحمدلله.
خیلی ممنون، سلامت باشین. خوشحالیم از زیارتتون، دیدارتون.
بنده خیلی وقتم که این فرصت رو دارم از جناب عالی و دوستان بهره بگیرم و یاد بگیرم.
باری شما بزرگوارین، استفاده میکنیم. خدمتتون هستیم آقای دکتر.
سلامت باشید.
بله، من به نظرم اگه اجازه بدید ما کم کم باید شروع کنیم، مثل که چون اغلب دوستان بزرگان اومدن، نه که قرار حرف بزنن و انشالله میشه شروع کرد. بسیار Thank you very much. Thank you very much. خیلی خوب. بسم الله الرحمن الرحیم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I welcome to all of you on the behalf of Iran Culture House, New Delhi and Al Bayan Institute, Tehran. And our topic is Imam Hussain and the Ashura movement, the common human asset. Once again, we are with a webinar on a very much important topic. And yesterday we had Arba'in throughout the world, and people are mourning the martyrdom of Imam Hussain and his companions in Karbala. And after 1,400 years, is commemorations and the remembrance of those martyrs are alive in the soul of the people, in the deep of the heart of the peoples around the world from different schools of thought and religions. And today we are having a webinar having more than 8 speakers all the way from Iran and 4 speakers from India. And the program is also being, I think, live telecast on YouTube channel of Iran Culture House also, apart from this Zoom platform. So I would welcome my viewers, my, all those who are following us on the YouTube channel apart from Zoom, and I welcome to all of them on this occasion in this program, this webinar titled by Imam Hussain and the Ashura movement, the common human asset. I would like to request Dr. Muhammad Ali Rabbani, the Honorable Cultural Counselor of Iran in New Delhi, so that he can have his words on this particular topic.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wabihi nasta'in. Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome to all the participants of this webinar on Imam Hussain alayhi salam and the Ashura movement, the common human assets. I express my condolence on the occasion of Arba'in Hussain. I pray for more encouragement to Almighty Allah, to Al Bayan Institute, especially Dr. Abdipur and others who have tried to make this program possible. The tragedy of Karbala is one of the most important and memorable events in the history of mankind and the history of Islam, which has valuable aims and concepts. One of the most important and lasting events that has had and continues to have a profound effect on the human and Islamic society is the Karbala incident, and due to its special place in the history of Islam, it has been considered the biggest tragic happening of human history by many Muslim and non-Muslim historians and thinker throughout history. The incident of Ashura, which was affected by the tragic depths of this incident and affected many people, it was a symbol of alignment between the best and purest human being against the most vicious people. It has been a peak center for attraction and the attention of all right seekers throughout history. And it attracts justice seekers regardless of ethnicity, religion, and geography. As most Islamic historians who have dealt with the Ashura incident are Sunni and have paid attention to this great event. The common view of this source toward the movement of Imam Hussain alayhi salam is accompanied by a special division to the family of the Prophet Muhammad. So that Ahl Sunnah in the source have called him Sayyid al-Shuhada and commemorate the oppressed martyrdom of the Imam and his companions in Karbala by holding ceremonies according to their own beliefs, including praying and fasting on the day of Ashura. Among the great Sunni historians, we can name Bukhari, Tabari, Zahabi, and etc. According to these sources, Imam Hussain alayhi salam moved for God for the sake of freedom, justice, and human dignity. He wanted people to live according to the trust, justice, and divine values. His precise existence taught everyone to lesson of freedom and dignity. The uprising of Imam Hussain alayhi salam has unknown dimensions that have affected human society. The human and the central message of this great movement are addressed to all human beings, regardless of their religions or profession. The land of India, which has always been the cradle of ethnic diversity and pluralism, communities and religious traditions, that has become a common link between all followers of religion, including Sunni, Shia, non-Muslim, Hindu, Sikh, and Buddhism. The martyrdom of Imam Hussain alayhi salam is a symbol of sacrifice and resistance in the age of religion in India, which can be a model for all free people. The martyrs of Karbala are not only reserved for the Shia of India, but also Sunni Muslim and non-Muslim in this country hold the ceremony in honor of the martyr of Karbala every year, and Imam Hussain has a special respected among the people of India. Therefore, love of Imam Hussain and mourning has always been a source for solidarity and cultural and religion dialogue between ethnic groups and followers of religions and sects in India, as well as between India and other Muslim nations, especially Iran. Therefore, the mornings of Muharram and Ashura in India, it is a long-standing national tradition, and Ashura is a day of public mourning and national holiday. Mourning tradition for Imam Hussain today are still part of the cultural and social identity and a common point between the followers of different religion and sects. One of the rituals that can be seen in the form of a tradition and cultural format of Shia community is the ceremony of the third Imam of Shia, Sayyidina Ali alayhi salam. This ceremony, which is often referred to as Ashura, is one of the most important movements of this kind. In many cities of India, not only Shiis and Muslims, but also many followers of Hindu and other religions attended the Ashura ceremony and even make vows and prayer in the ceremony to meet their needs. In some cities, Brahmins, who are also known as Hussain Brahman, attend the morning ceremony on Muharram and Ashura. In the past and until today, many Maharajas of India also participate in Theology ceremonies. Also in Lucknow, Delhi, Chennai, Calcutta, and other parts of India, Hanafis and Sufis mourn the martyrs of Karbala. Centuries ago, love and affection for Imam Hussain become the access for coexistence and empathy between Shiite, Sunni, Hindu, Sikhs, and other religions and sects in Great India. Just as great poets in Persian and Urdu literature have endured to compose Ashura poems. These poets, according to their position and life in different culture and period, each with different motive and express the operation of the great Imam in the event of Ashura have more. Ashura mourning and poetry are prolific branch of the big tree of ritual and big poetry, which is full of different literary technique and industries. Numerous literary creation have been formed in the image of Ashura poetry and mourning, and emotion and imagination are the two basic elements in poems that originated from human emotion and cause the spiritual and physical transformation of the listener or reader. Ashura and its message are trans-religions and even supra-religions and human great people and personalities such as Gandhi were influenced by the movement and the message of freedom of Imam Hussain and taken it as a role model, just as Imam Khomeini of the life of Islam to Ashura. Thank you again for the opportunity you have given to me, and I hope that the content presented today by Iranian and Indian scholars will be useful and hopeful for everyone. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ali Rabbani, for your valuable inputs on this particular topic. And it was truly said by you as that the message of the Imam Hussain is everlasting and universal message. And as we can see, we can witness in our country, India, that people from different cultural background, people from different religions are participating in the Muharram rituals and Azadari morning sessions and other different kinds of programs. And there is a special respect in the heart of the people throughout the world for Imam Hussain and his companions in Karbala. And as we can see that today in our program, in this webinar, we are having people from different school of thought. We have a Sikh scholar, we have our brother Hindu scholar, we have Muslim, we have a brother from Al-Sunnat. Hope this is something very special which unites us throughout the world in the name of Imam Hussain. So we are going to have another speaker from Iran. I would like to invite Dr. Habibullah Babai, the Dean Faculty of Civilization and Social Studies, Tehran. So Dr. Habibullah Babai, we are going to hear you on this topic.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحیم. سلام علیکم و رحمت الله. Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here with my colleagues, professors, and scholars from Iran and India. Actually, this is a great opportunity for me to think and to talk about Ashura and Imam Hussein in contemporary world. My talk today is about theology of service arising from mourning for Imam Hussein alayhi salam, especially what's going on today in Arba'in in Iraq and some Muslim communities. As you know, Arba'in is a Shiite religious observance, very great spiritual morning walking that occurs 40 days after the day of Ashura, and Muslim communities, repeat this commemoration every year in Iraq and some other countries. Actually, I see in Arba'in new humanitarian communication system. There is no category in Arba'in other than pilgrim servant category. In fact, there are two key elements in Arba'in society, the element of pilgrimage and the element of service. Now I'm going to consider over this short lecture the service in the Arba'in and its human and global dimensions and functions in the current world. You know very well that the term theology of service has already been used in Christian theology, especially in the Catholic Church, in relation to God, when you say service to God, or in relation to creation, when we say service to the people. In philosophical and ethical literature, the subject of service is very important matter. For example, you can follow the service in applied ethics in definition of profession as a job that has the idea of service. Now, the theology of service in Islam, I think, could be imagined in three ways. Service to God, when we say, for example, in Dua Kamil, oh Allah, strengthen my body just to serve you. And service to religion. And the third kind of service could be found in Islam and theology of service to human beings, such as serving the Imam, al-mubazab ala khidmat al-Imam, serving the parents in the prayer of 24 in Sahifa Sajjadiyah for Imam Sajjad, serving the scholars, ulama, when it says the best one who deserves for service is alim, and serving the faith brother or ikhwanuka al-mu'minin, and serving the guest, and etc. and so forth. In theory, human service have many academic aspects that are worth thinking about it. For instance, the relationship between service and spirituality, when we think about spiritual functions of human services, and service and dignity and honor, when we talk about service that leads not to humiliation, but to dignity and honor, and service and justice, that the service causes just relations and social equalities, and so forth. And there are other topics and other elements and factors that could be compared with human services. But what I'm saying here is the relationship between service and solidarity in the Arba'in culture and its social and civilized contributions. The value system of service in Arba'in is very distinguished service values that differs widely from modern service system. Arba'in service has its own ethos. One, or first, purity of service. The service in Arba'in is not for other services, but service just for love, for honor, for humanity, for morality. And second, it is service to all, regardless of the cultural, ethnic, and even religious categories. And the third point is that this kind of service that is complemented in Arba'in is kind of comprehensive service that the servant purpose, servant propose his whole life for the service. For instance, there are some servants in Arba'in who propose his shadow just to keep and protect others from sun and warmth. We can call it, shadow services in Arba'in. So I think this kind of service is not familiar for modern and secular audience. I think what's going on today in Arba'in is new value system that must be considered by scholars and by professors and academic people in houses and universities. Okay, contrary to what has been in the history of evangelical service in Christianity, where service has been a way to develop Western colonialism, service in Arba'in is a spiritual, moral, and human affair that make the Arba'in community as collect and bunch of virtues and a global great good. This great global good paves the way for the formulation of Ummah in Islam and distinguished civilization in the world, such as ours. Regarding this, you can consider the following verse in the Quran when it says in chapter 2, verse 261, مثل الذين ينفقون في سبيل الله كمثل حبة أنبتت سبع سنابل في كل سنبلة مئة حبة الله يضاعف لمن يشاء. These clusters full of goodness, which everyone understands as a goodness in the language of nature. Basically, I think the language of service is the language of nature, or lisanul khidmah equals lisanul fitra. So it is understood and understandable for everyone, regardless their religion and their culture and their nation. So I think this kind of, language of nature and language of fitra create a kind of social unity and monotheism, and this time and approximating religious or inner religions dialogue stays not in the ceremonial halls, but it develops in Husseini mukabs in Iraq, and in Arba'in is where that Arba'in service happens there. Now, it seems that if the model of service and theology behind it can be turned into a theory or a model of communication in human relations, it can pave the way for the moral transformation and progress of civilization among Muslims from Balkan to Bengal and from west to east, and open new horizon for contemporary men. Finally, I think it is necessary for the elites and activists of civilization to pay more attention to the civilization capacities in the Islamic world, such as Hajj, Arba'in, and other example, we can follow them, and to separate universal civilization issues from national issues. By doing this, planning and making decisions about civilizational issues should be occurred just by civilization scholars and elites. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Babai, for sharing us some, informative contents about Arba'in, rituals and Azadari practices and the civilizational aspect of this Ashura movement. And it was really precious and informative for all of us. And once again, I would like to thank you. And now we are heading towards a personality, a man, where in his family, in his house, the discussions about Ashura and Imam Ali and the Prophet's belongings was always the part of the culture of his home. I mean, Dr. Dharmendranath's son, engineer Himendranath, who is present here and is a part of our program, and he will speak about this particular topic. I think it is necessary to mention here that his father and his grandfather also was a great poet, and his father has a number of books about Ashura and Imam Hussain and Azadari, and he was also a great poet himself. He has visited several times Iran, Najaf, Kufa, and everywhere, and even he has recited his poem in front of the supreme leader of Iran. So he's a son of that Dharmendranath ji, and who is no more between us, but his son, the engineer Himendranath, is with us, and I would like to call him to have a few words about this particular topic. Himendranath ji, can you hear us?
Yeah,
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Am I audible?
No, you can go.
Can
You may carry on.
you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I'm feeling very honored to be part of this webinar among those distinguished and eminent personalities who are participating in it. So I'll just start that our family, you talked about our family. So from our family, our great-grandfathers, I'm sure from them this lineage is going on, and we have been following Imam Hussain and his teachings, and whatever that incidents of Karbala, like the tragedy that happened, and that invoked a sense of sacrifice and the principles of humanity, and which something which is important for the whole humanity, the whole civilization. And so that has been always the part of our family tradition, right from, I'll just take about from my childhood also. The whole family would sit together and they'll watch the programs that were aired on televisions or on Muharram and all that. Besides that, my grandfather, Shri Gopinath Ammanji, I mean, he used to visit to Pakistan, and he would do give a lot of he'll deliver all his Natya Kalam there. He was a great Marsiya and Qasida writer. Same way my father also followed in his footsteps, and he wrote many Marsiyas, Qasidas, and all his Natya Kalam. That is now in form of books also. And so that is, we have been following it, and it is the compassion. I think it is the basic principle to which Imam Hussain stood for. I think that is one thing. I mean, which is really so great. Just to what I just think is that he would not allow anybody to be a spiritual or a religious leader who did not stand for him, who is not right, and he fought for it, and the whole family was sacrificed just for one principle, for right, what is true, what is right. And this, in our religion also, we follow all our epics and all that. The end result is that truth prevails, right prevails. And this is what we see now in Ashura and Imam Hussain. Like the people follow him, and this is a great message to the whole whole humanity. In fact, it is not something that can be kept within one religion. I think it's like a light, and who comes in touch with it gets enlightened. And so this is, I think, very short, because I know there are great speakers here and they know a lot about, so I won't speak about that, but as a family and in our, and not many, I mean, it's not that as you say, like Hussaini Brahmins, they'll follow him because in they're gone to take the revenge of killing of Imam Hussain and their forefathers. So, and similarly, the Kayasthas of Lucknow, they also had a great following in this because I think the whole ambience of we have all over the India. I mean, we observe Muharram and Ashura, but I think ambience in something like Amroha or Lucknow, it makes a very different kind of atmosphere. And so this, our family was be part of it. We're part of going to even Taziyadari also, so that our family would go for that. So we feel proud and honored to be a part of this.
Thank you very much, Himendnathji. Are you finished?
Yeah, I'm finished.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And really, we would pray for your grandfathers, your ancestors who had great belief in Imam Hussain. And
Bakar Sahib, just if you could just give me one couplet from my father's.
Definitely. Why not? Why not? Please.
So I just remembered his two lines. Like I'll just translate it later in English. So in Hindi, in Urdu is हर दौर में होंगे यजीद के नए रूप, हर दौर में होंगे यजीद के नए रूप, कोई हो दौर उसकी जरूरत है करबला. So so like whatever the era be, there will be new faces of Yazid, but whatever be the era, whatever be the time, the need is Karbala. So in its relevance that there would be tyranny, there would be different faces, and we need people with principles, we need people who can sacrifice, that would stood for it, that will stand for it, and that will save the civilization and the humanity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Himendnathji. Rightly said by you that in every era we will need a Hussain, we will need a Karbala, and we have to keep inspiration. We have to keep taking inspiration by the Karbala and Imam Hussain and his companions who have fought for the right path and the sacred cause, and they have given the courage to the entire humanity to fight against the oppressors and remain a dignified human being. So this is the biggest, I think, outcome of the message of the Karbala. And thank you once again. I would like to, of course, pray for the soul of your father and your grandfather who have contributed in the literature of Ashura. And as far as I know, I think, if I'm not wrong, more than 3 or 4 books are dedicated only on Karbala by your father, and including his the poems and the book Azadari Imam Hussain, Afaqi Tahreek, and there are other books. So 3 or 4 books which I personally gone through that. So it was by your father about Imam Hussain, apart from the other books related to Prophet Muhammad, Imam Ali, and other prophets' belongings. So really, I salute them. I salute you and your family for cherishing and for preserving that the legacy of culture which was left by your father and your family members. So now we are moving towards Mr. Manmohan Sadana, who is a Sikh brother from Delhi. He's a Persian scholar also, is a very much learned person. He has visited more than 40 countries around the world. And he's a great fan of Mullah Rumi. And after the retirement, he has started to study Persian language and literature just because of Maulana Rumi. So I would like to call him on this occasion to have his words on this topic. Manmohan Sadana, we are hearing you.
Respected dignitaries, participants, salam, namaste, I bow to the God in you. At the outset, I thank the organizers, Arbayan Institute and the Iran Cultural House, New Delhi, for organizing this international webinar on Hazrat Imam Hussain. The topic has been very well selected, Imam Hussain and the Ashura movement, the common human asset. It's a very profound subject, and I take this opportunity to admit my ignorance to handle this topic very competently. Whatever I know about Hazrat Imam Hussain, I learned from my Murshid, my Guru, my spiritual master, Sant Darshan Singh Ji Maharaj. He was a Sufi in the true sense. He was a Sikh, and it is from him I learned about the symbiotic relationship which takes place between religions, as to how Islam influenced Sikhism, how did Islam influence the Bhakti movement. I still remember he said that prophets and Hazrat Imam Hussain did not belong to any particular community. He did not belong to a particular state. He did not belong to any particular nation or religion. He belonged to the entire mankind, and the entire mankind belonged to him. My Murshid wrote 5 books in Urdu and Persian, and they are Matae Noor, Manzile Noor, Jadae Noor, Mauze Noor, and Telashe Noor. In these books, he has handled various subjects which include Sufism, and he has written various qasidas which in Urdu are poems written in praise of personalities, and these qasidas are on Prophet Muhammad, Hazrat Ali, and Hazrat Imam Hussain. He told me that Hazrat Imam Hussain believed in the brotherhood of man and the fatherhood of God. And this is what was propounded by my Murshid also. That was self-knowledge and God realization, which we can say as Khud Shanasi and Khuda Shanasi. It would, if we want to speak on a subject like Hazrat Imam Hussain, I think the entire ink of the world will finish. All the trees would get devastated because there would be no paper left. So what I thought, I would pick up one of the qasidas written by Sant Darshan Singh Ji Maharaj in Urdu and attempt to explain some of those lines in English. In the qasida written by him titled Fateh Karbala, the starting lines are, Hussein dard ko, dil ko, dua ko kehte hain. Hussein dard ko, dil ko, dua ko kehte hain. Hussein asl mein deene khuda ko kehte hain. If we translate it into simple English, it means that Hazrat Hussain life symbolized the pain he went at the physical level, his heart, his fellow feeling for the brotherhood, and the blessings and the benevolence which he bestowed on entire humanity. his mission was a divine religion. He believed in a revolution for the rights of humanity. Hence, Sant Darshan Singh Ji Maharaj says, Hussein हौसले इनकलाब देता है, Hussein क्षमा नहीं आफ्ताब देता है, which means that Hazrat Hussein was just not a candle or a lantern. He was the sun which shone on the entire planetary system of the galaxy. Hussein लश्करे बातिल का गम नहीं करता, हुसैन अज़्म है माथे को खम नहीं करता, हुसैन जुल्म के मारो हुओं का मामन है, हुसैन जिंदगी ए बेसकून का मस्कर है. This couplet which I just read, which means that Hazrat Hussein, he was a balm for the pain-stricken people. He provided shelter to the people who were in misery. हुसैन पैगंबर की जो को कहते हैं, हुसैन सीनाए हैदर की लो को कहते हैं, शहर की धूप उतरी हर आशियाने में, लहू से जिसने उजाला किया जमाने में. He gave his blood which lightened the entire humanity. हुसैन सिलसिलाए जाविदा है रहमत का, हुसैन नुक्ते मिराज है रिसालत का. His eternal grace bestowed mercy and benevolence on the entire humanity, and he was a symbol of the zenith of the prophethood which a saint could reach. यकीन की ज़र्ब हर एक पैकरे कमा के लिए, हुसैन बर्क है बातिल है आशियां के लिए, हुसैन जज्बाए आज़ादी ये हर आदम है, हुसैन हुर्रियत जिंदगी का परचम है. This is a very important line. हुसैन हुर्रियत जिंदगी का परचम है, which means he was a symbol of life's freedom. He believed in the freedom of not only human beings but all the living beings on earth. हुसैन अज़्म को जब ताबनाक करता है, जला के खिरमाने बातिल को खाक करता है. हुसैन पयामे रहमत हक है पयामे शबीरी, हर एक प्यासे को मिलाता है जामे शबीरी. हुसैन है नमरूद से बगावत का, दिले हुसैन की गर्मी से दिल मचलते हैं, इस एक चिराग से लाखों चिराग जलते हैं. The last line is हर एक चिराग से लाखों चिराग जलते हैं, which means he was a candle which lit all the entire humanity of every nation, of every country, the entire world. हुसैन सैया तजल्ली में कामयाब हुआ, लहू से डूब के उभरा तो आफताब हुआ. हुसैन सुबह जहां ताब का अलामत है, हुसैन का भी भुला दे ये क्या कयामत है. The last couplet which I am going to read now summarizes the respect the poet has for Hazrat Hussain. He says, बेरोज़े हश्र नशाते दुआम बख्शेगा, हुसैन दर्शन तिश्ना को जाम बख्शेगा. When the poet says Hussein darshan tishna ko jaam bakshega, he means the entire humanity, all the seekers who are searching for Allah. Hussein would bestow the spiritual elixir on them. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sadana Sahab. We are really thankful. We are really grateful for this valuable discussion and the beautiful poetry of Darshan Ji Maharaj. I'm sure he has more than this qasida. He has number of qasidas about Imam Hussain, and beautiful Urdu poetry full of Persian keywords. As I observed personally, it was a very legendary kind of poetry in Urdu language about Imam Hussain and his companions. And I wish I could, translate it, but I'm sure the most of the part which you have simply translated in English, it was more than enough, and I hope that people have benefited, our participants and our viewers. got benefited, and they can go through it in the Majmua, which name I think Jade Noor, as you mentioned, if I remember correctly. Yes. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for your valuable inputs on this topic. And now, without wasting any minutes, I would like to request Hujjatul Islam al Muslimin, Dr. Alizadeh Musavi, Islamic scholar from Iran, and as I remember, he has been in India for several years, and his specialization is in the cultural dialogue and the brotherhood and the unity and this kind of constructive discourses. So I would like to call him to have his words on this particular topic. Dr. Alizadeh Musavi, we are keenly waiting to hear you. آقای علیزاده موسوی اگر صدای ما رو میشنوید ما در خدمتی. اینجا بود. Okay, I think he's not available right now. He has joined it, but I think due to some certain reason he has left. I would like to call Dr. Abdul Majid Moballighi. Dr. Abdul Majid Moballighi, if you are here, please join us and have a few words about this particular topic.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Dar khidmat.
Yes, thank you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Good afternoon to both my Indian and Iranian colleagues, and I'm really happy to be with you from Tehran, the capital city of Iran, which is relatively, if I'm right, cloudy and at this moment a little windy. Okay, in advance, I would like to thank the cultural host of the Islamic Republic of Iran in the friendly and brotherly country of India, especially Dr. Rabbani and his colleagues in India and from India. And also, I would like to thank the Institute of Al-Bayan, especially Dr. Abdipur. The topic of my discussion is about different forms of mourning ceremonies for Imam Hussein, peace be upon him. So in a historical approach toward that issue, we can divide it into two types. In fact, we have two forms of mourning ceremonies for Imam Hussein alayhi salam. I call the first form, the first category, participant-centered ceremony, and the second one, society-centered ceremony. By participant-centered ceremony, I mean a set of rituals that are performed and repeated under a specific structure and is like a disciplined religious practice. So we know so many examples for this form of ceremonies, like chest beating, which we call it sinezani in Iran. I think in other countries it can like that. Or we have session for Matam, session of Matam and Nohe, which is narrating the story of Karbala to audiences, and they usually cry on it. So Taziyah is another form, which is condolence theater inspired by the story of Karbala, and so many other genres and types of this form of ceremonies, which are participant-centered ceremonies. So if we focus on these ceremonies, we can see they are well organized, pre-institutionalized, carefully and historically structured. And in fact, they are like rituals. As you know, in rituals like prayer, there is a discipline. You have to focus on it and you have to repeat it. This form of ceremonies has a special characteristic, and that's their focus and their attention to audiences themselves, to people who have participated in the ceremony. So this form of ceremonies are trying to focus on those who are part of the ceremony. It's for insiders rather than outsiders. But we have another form of ceremonies. In a historical analysis, we can find different examples of this form of ceremonies. I have called it society-centered or society-oriented ceremonies. The first type pays attention to the inside, as I told you, the first type of ceremonies. But this form of ceremonies is about those who are outside, those who are observers. Main example of this form of ceremony is the Waqf of Arba'in. So it has a natural order and it is self-organized. Unlike the other one, which has a special disciplined order, it has a natural order. The central purpose and philosophy of this type of mourning is to convey a message to others rather than to those who are participating in the ceremony. Yes, for sure, it is related to those who are in the ceremony. It tries to give message to those who are part of the ceremony, but it is planned, it is devised to send a message to others, to observers. If I use the terminology which we have nowadays in modern time, you can call it like a march. It's like a rally. Even it's like a demonstration. It has a demonstrative characteristic at its heart. Let's say it's like a protest. So people come out of the street to protest. People out of their house and on the street to protest against something. This type of public mourning, in fact, is about to express your opinion. It is associated with a kind of expression of your opinion. It's a political and social rally, a march in which you try to demonstrate about something and protest about something. I will come back to this idea and I will try to say why it's about protest and protesting against something. But let's, before it going to some form of historical analysis and see which kind of these two categories of, let's say, ceremony mournings for ceremonies are more authentic, are more original. I think, historically speaking, the second type of mourning ceremony is both more original and older. If we refer to the history, we can see on the 40th day after the martyrdom of Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, his family marched to the place of his martyrdom, which was the city of Karbala. So mourning for Imam Hussein started with this form of ceremony. Later, both in Abbasid Caliphate and Fatimid Caliphate, we can face with the exercising of this form of ceremony. So both Shiites, Sunnites, non-Muslims, Muslims, whoever and everyone who was somehow interested to the message of Karbala tried at this eras of history to take part in different forms of Bach in cities like Cairo and Baghdad to show their respect to Imam Hussein, and even more than showing respect, to send the message of Imam Hussein to others. So it was about sending a message. But something happened after the establishment of Safavid Empire in Iran. After the establishment of Safavid Empire in Iran, and during the Safavid Empire in this country, since the society was completely Shiite, it was completely dominated Shiite population, the approach to the first type of mourning gradually became completely widespread, and the second type was forgotten. So participant-centered ceremony became important, and society-centered ceremony became step by step and gradually disappeared. That was because they thought we are living in a country which is completely Shiite, so we don't need to send message to others. Everyone is insider. We don't have outsiders. So we have to make ceremony for Imam Hussein as a ritual rather than a rally in which you send a message to someone else, which I am not okay with this kind of understanding. But in a phenomenological approach toward the history, we can see it's what was taken place, and it is what happened. But the story of Iraq is something else. Iraq was a multicultural society. Both followers and non-followers of Imam Hussein were there, and you could see them even in one neighborhood. So because of that, this form of mourning, I mean society-centered mourning, like Walk of Arba'in, and other forms of rally like mourning disciplines, stayed vital and alive there. However, with the advent of the new era of Iraq and the establishment of modern Iraq, exercising this form of ceremonies was not easy because it was suppressed due to the rule of dictators in this country. This kind of mourning was present in the cultural genome and the cultural heritage of people of Iraq, but it was not visible, it was not seenable. By the collapse of the regime of Saddam, which was the last and the most brutal system of dictatorship in this country, a new atmosphere was there, and we see after it, people of Iraq started again to show what they had in their cultural genome, and they started to revive the rally of Arba'in and different forms of practices which are associated with the second category of ceremony for Imam Hussein, as I called it, society-centered ceremony. And at this time, something new took place and happened. Iranians and other nations joined these mourning rallies because now we are facing a world that is like a village. So for them, it was not possible anymore to think we don't have people who are not familiar with the message of Imam Hussein around, because the world is like a village. In a rally, in a march, in a protest and demonstration for Imam Hussein and against what has happened on Imam Hussein, and to protest against this kind of brutality which took place 1,400 years ago. You don't need just to have outsiders in your neighborhood anymore. Cameras and cams are everywhere and your photo goes everywhere. So for the first time, this kind of rally, Walk of Arba'in, became such a great, important, big, large, huge phenomenon. Everyone wants to participate in this program and convey a message of peace and love to the world through this march. In fact, it was a kind of fight against violence and oppression, which not only imposed on Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, and his family and companions, but also until now to those who are under brutal systems and those who are receiving this kind of unfair activities. So I want to finish my discussion because I'm afraid I am passing the time which is determined for me. I just want to say Arba'in rally nowadays is a like security building event. It makes security for people who are participating in it. It sends a message to everyone else that we, as followers of Imam Hussein, love peace, love a life with others which is based on respect. Arba'in is the philosophy of resistance against those who are not accepting the right of people and those who are not following the role model of Imam Hussein. One of the most powerful symbols of Arba'in is solidarity among people from different sects and religions and different groups. So it's not just for Shiites. Yes, there is a Shiite elements located at the core of Arba'in, but it's not just Shiite. It's for everyone who is trying to show the power of truth. So it's the book for the power of truth. Thank you so much for the opportunity I've given, and I'm happy and glad to continue with listening to the good speeches and lectures of my great friends.
Thank you very much, Dr. Moballighi, for your social analysis of the Arbaeen gathering and the, you can say, a human notion, which we can be witness nowadays around Karbala and Najaf and in Iraq. And apart from that particular place, around the world, you can see the people are, coming together in the name of Imam Hussain, and till the late nights and the mornings. People are having different kinds of programs in the name of Imam Hussain. That is really, you can say, it's a miracle of holy kind of contribution made by him and his companions in Karbala. And thank you very much once again for you and for our all participants who are spending his valuable time here. Now I'm heading towards a great Islamic scholar, our great friend Hujjatul Islam wal Muslimin, Lijna Maulana Mirza Askari Sahab from Kuwait, all the way from Kuwait. Yet he is basically from Matiaburj, Calcutta, West Bengal, from India. He is, learned in Husain, and he's a multilingual Islamic preacher. He can deliver his sermons in English, in Gujarati, in Bengali, in Urdu, in Arabic. So that was a great thing which I personally found in him, and that's why we would really be benefited by listening him in this webinar. So I would like to request Hujjatul Islam wal Muslimin Lijna Maulana Mirza Askari Sahab, all the way from Kuwait. We are passionately waiting to hear you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I think my video is not working. Just check with your side. Is it working properly?
Your voice is clear. Your voice is clear.
From there?
Your voice is clear, but your video is not coming here.
So, just a moment. I'm sorry, please. Let me check the video because
just unmute your video. I think it will.
Yeah,
work.
I'm trying to do it. But I think there's a problem. So just let me try to connect with my mobile. Because I was trying, I thought that it was unmuted. It was muted by the host. So I will connect myself through mobile, so it will be easier. I'm sorry for the inconvenience.
No problem. You can take your time. No problem.
I need just a few minutes. It's less than 1 minute. Yeah. Just let me in from your side, Dr. Mehdi Bakar.
Yes. Okay, come on.
Recording
is
okay.
Okay. Oh, no. Okay.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I don't know why my. Yeah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, and all praise and honors to the Holy Prophet and his household. Respected scholars, Honorable Aka Dr. Ali Rabbani, the Honorable Consulate of Islamic Republic of Iran to Delhi, and all dignitaries and honorable guests. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First of all, I would like to thank and I would like to appreciate it is an honor to me and for me that I'm invited to this great platform and a forum of introducing the hero of the mankind and humanity, Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wassalam, the incomparable personality to the human society across the world. So I'm really thankful to all of you and to all the respected guests gathered here in this forum of discussion. The subject, and I would like to say that my friend, Dr. Mehdi Bakr, he was just exaggerating. Yeah, means I don't find myself to be so much learned, but I'm a student of an Islamic seminary. And Alhamdulillah, I'm from Calcutta, Matia Burj in India. At present, I'm based in Kuwait as a resident alim and scholar among the subcontinent community based in Kuwait. And as well, I'm leading a mosque for Kuwaiti friends. So the subject which I am interested in and I would like to discuss, maybe a giant subject, but I'll speak a few words regarding this, is that the personality of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam and its impact globally across the world upon the human society. So definitely it's a giant topic. So I would like to speak a few words. I would like to start with one of the best saying of Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam regarding Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam. And this was discussed in somehow among the discussion, in between the discussion by some scholars, they discussed a few minutes back. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Holy Prophet says that verily Hussain is the lantern and light of guidance and the ark of salvation. So it's very true saying about Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wassalam. Because, since past, if we say that since centuries, the world has seen plenty and numbers of reformers, the number of leaders, and across the globe, and those leaders and those reformers, the main objective and the ultimate goal of these leaders and reformers were to bring change in the human society and to reform the human society. Among those leaders and reformers and the leader for the human society, the leader for the mankind, Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam is an eminent and an uncomparable personality among those leaders. How I say it's not just a claim. I would like to spread a few light over the subject, and which I think it will reveal that exactly Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam is a lesson. And first of all, I would like to say that today the world needs that we have to introduce a personality like Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam. There are lots of platforms and lots of ways to introduce Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam to the world. One of those, Alhamdulillah, Islamic Republic of Iran is a great symbol of introducing Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam and the teaching of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam across the world. And it's very appreciating and praising. Apart from this, the Arba'in of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam, it is a symbol of introduction, the ideas, the concepts, the ideology of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam to the world. And we don't have to do now in Arba'in, the great march of Arba'in. We don't have to do anything, just walking on the way of this at least 80 kilometers from Karbala, from Najaf to Karbala, by itself is a great message. It brings the world to think about it, that why the peoples are walking all through the way. They don't care of their food. They don't care of their walk. They don't care of anything. They're just walking. And the only slogans they have in their mouth, and the enchanting the slogan is that, Labbaika ya Hussain. So definitely it will cause the world to think about that. Who is this Hussain? Who is this Hussain that the world, the millions and billions of people now inshallah, definitely, it's not a prediction, but a reality that after a few years, this gathering is going to be, today it is the world largest gathering today. And today, if we count the gathering, the numbers of people in millions, now tomorrow, after a few years, we are going to count it in billions and trillions. And definitely that land of Karbala can, has the honor to be the host of the people of different languages, different cultures, different ideologies, different societies, and all through from across the world. So this march is a great event and great opportunity to introduce and to know, not just to introduce, because who are trying to introduce Imam Hussain, I'm telling them it's a great opportunity. And who are trying to learn who is Hussain, the March of Arba'in, the event of Arba'in is the great opportunity to learn and to know who is Hussain, alayhi salatu wassalam. And for why people, it brings a question to my thought, that why people are grieving, why people are walking for this personality, who is he? So this brings an opportunity to know who is Hussain, first of all. But apart from this great march, what I want to say, now this is a cultural event, definitely, but apart from this, we need to know more about Imam Hussain. We need to spread more light about Imam Hussain. Imam Hussain is the personality who shall be discussed in the universities. Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wassalam is a personality who shall be discussed in the cultural forums across the world, in different countries, in different languages. Now there's a need to write, means to bring the reality of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam to the people, because definitely day by day people are facing the tyrants of the world, the devil in the world. They are trying to suppress the people, so the people in the world, whatever their religion is, whatever their thought is, whatever their concept is, whatever their ideology is, people need someone to them to the right path and to save them from the tyrants of the devils, and from the tyrants and the devils, from the suppressions of the devils who are trying to suppress and who are trying to oppress the mankind, which is very significant now in the world we can find. So there's a need. There are plenty of scholars who have introduced Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam, Islamic and non-Islamic scholars. Few of them, India has a great role in introducing, especially our Sikh brothers, our Hindu scholars. They have a great role in introducing Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam in their poetries, in their articles, in their books. So it has been a great achievement for the people to know who is Imam Hussain. That's why we find in different cities and places in India, across India, apart of the differences in views and political differences, when it comes to Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wassalam, people from all the ideologies, people from all political forms, they respect Imam Hussain, especially in India. And I don't think it's reality. Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wassalam deserve more than this. So now what makes the movement of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam a remarkable movement? There are a few characteristics of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam which makes the movement of Imam Hussain to be a remarkable movement, to be a global movement, and to make it a need of the mankind. There are lots of characteristics. I will just address a few of them. I definitely, my friends and respected scholars will, and they have spread light over these topics. These virtues and characteristics have, made a significant difference of Imam Hussain among the reformists and among the leaders of the mankind. Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam stood for the mankind. So, and he has some different views. Somebody can say that why Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam stood against the Umayyad Khalifa, Umayyad dynasty, the Umayyad kingdom. Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam himself, he stood against the Umayyad kingdom. He didn't wanted to get the throne just. He didn't wanted to remove Yazid just. It's very important. I would like to spread light over this. He didn't want it just to remove a Yazid, and he didn't want it just to get the throne. No. The reform and the movement of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam was to change the thought and thinking of the mankind and humanity. The day after the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam started preaching Islam and introduced Islam, that day gradually people started changing. And within 23 years, people were changed totally in that Arabian Peninsula. Okay, and after 40 years, means gradually there were deterioration again and again, and people, the basic guidance and the basic teaching which Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam brought for the mankind was people were leaving those teachings and we're going to a different way. So Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam tried to bring back the people to the actual path of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for which he stood firmly. And there are many significant characteristics of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam. I'll just speak about three. In 3 points, and I won't take much of your time. I'm sorry if I'm increasing my time. Dr. Mehdi Bakr, I'm not taking much time, inshallah.
No, you may carry forward, no problem.
Thank you. The first and the basic characteristic of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam is the firm determination. You know, today, anyone who is going to lead the world, anyone who is going to lead a particular community, anyone who is going to lead a particular society or particular religion or particular means geographical location, the first and the primary condition for the leader is firm determination. If he is determined and his determination is firm, so definitely he is going to get the success, and his leadership is a successful leadership. So this was a significant, you know, this characteristic. It has a significant role in the success of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam. How he say, you know, what Imam Hussain says about his determination. He says that in the path of righteousness, in the part of saving the mankind, in the part of the salvation of the mankind, if my blood is needed, I'm going to give my blood. If my children are needed, I'm going to sacrifice my children. If even my honorable, my families, they are needed, my beloved family are needed to be the part of the sacrifice, I don't mind. I would like to sacrifice my whole entire family, my whole people, even my child, an arm child, a 6-month-old child. His name is Ali Asghar or Abdullah Radi. Imam Hussain sacrificed this 6-month-old son and child in the path of humanity, in the path of justice, in the path of salvation for the humanity and the mankind. So it's a great achievement. I won't say that Imam Hussain was martyred, and yeah, we mourn for the martyrdom, but it's an achievement for the mankind, because this teaches a lesson to the mankind that when you want success for your community, your society, you have to uprise firmly, and you have to stand, and you have to be able, your heart must be so wide to give whatever you have in the path of your objective and motive. What Imam Hussain says, I don't see death but as success, and life with the oppressors as nothing but a deviation. See how he is how he is defining his thoughts, and how Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam briefing his views and ideas. Then the second significant virtue and characteristic of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam in this success, and which is a key of success to every leader. What is that? Refusal to accept injustice. Today, people across the world are enchanting slogans, they are shouting, they are fighting against the injustice. The only problem for the mankind across the globe, wherever you go in our country, in all through the world, wherever you go, is that mankind, our people, are facing the injustice in offices, in whether the private or the government, in practical and in individual life, in social life, in businesses. everywhere mankind is facing injustice, and this injustice is more dangerous than a killing cancer. Injustice can devastate a society, devastate the humanity and the mankind. So whoever claims to be a leader, whoever wants to be a leader, whoever is leading a society, a community, a political or a social party, or a group of people must have a slogan in thought and in practical life, the slogan of fighting injustice. When I want to fight injustice and unlawful activities, I have to be just. I have to be lawful to fight the injustice. Imam Hussain alayhi salam taught this. You know, Imam Hussain alayhi salam, what the scholar says about Imam Hussain? Imam Hussain alayhi salam was named as Abu Dhayyim. Who is Abu Dhayyim? You know, Abu Dhayyim, who refuses to be oppressed. The primary injustice is accepting oppression. What Islam says, do not oppress and do not be oppressed. Never accept the oppression. Never accept the people who are oppressing people. Imam Hussain alayhi salam, what he says, Yaqubi says about Imam Hussain alayhi salam, Shahidul Izzah means the martyr of honor. Means he martyred on the path of honor. He gave everything what he had to save his dignity, the martyr of dignity, and to save his respect. And the third thing, which I'm going to precise my my speech and my words with this third characteristic of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam, which is a key of success for the mankind, is firmness on the path of truth. Because whenever we are standing to fight against the unjust, and whenever we are standing to fight against the oppression, so we ourselves have to be truth and trustworthy, and we have to be very firm in this path. Means we must not compromise. We must not definitely at any aspect. We must not compromise with our concept, our ideologies, and problems and troubles in this path may not shake us and may not move us from our determination. So Imam Hussain alayhi salam has assigned these characteristics and virtues needs more different detail, but I'm just precising my words, and I took lots of your time. I'm sorry for that, and I hope definitely it would be a participation from my side to this great event of webinar. And at the end, once again, I would like to thank to the organizers, especially Al Bayan Institute and Islamic Iran Cultural House in Delhi, and the honorable consulates and guests. Thank you so much for listening me and giving me this opportunity. Be blessed. Have a
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Islam al-Muslimin Mirza Askari from Kuwait, for your valuable and precious inputs about the characteristics of and the qualities of the determination of Imam Hussain and his conviction and his commitment towards his the ultimate goal, which was not only salvation, but to risk the entire humanity from the all kind of evils of all era, which he has done in Karbala. Really, we are thankful for you for your precious time which you have spent with us, and for your great ideas which you have shared with us. And now I would like to call with the Islam al-Muslimin Dr. Alizadeh Musavi from Iran, and a great Islamic scholar from Iran who have been in India for several years, and we all know him well. I would like to call him to have precious words about this particular topic.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa alihi tayyibin at-tahirin al-ma'sumin. Thank you very much of all of your participants and the cultural hosts of Islamic Republic of Iran, and also the Al Bayan Institute for holding this good webinar in the Imam Hussain alayhi salam and Arba'in topic. Alhamdulillah, all of the lecturers have gave a very good lectures about Imam Hussain alayhi salam, and really I have very used from these lectures also. But the thing which I want to talk about is about the relations between the Arba'in and the role of Arba'in in convergence between the Ahl Sunnah and Shia. I have heard the lecture of dear Dr. Rabbani, which talked about the relations between the Hindus and Sikhs and all of these religions in regard of the Arba'in. But the main point is to know about the sects which we have in Islam and what's their position about this thing that means Arba'in. Before anything, we should understand that the Imam Hussain alayhi salam has accepted, was accepted by all of the Muslims, Shia and Sunnis, and all of them have accepted Imam Hussain alayhi salam is the son of the Prophet, the nephew of the Prophet, and also they have admired all of the Karbala events. And unfortunately, although the Salafis or the Ibn Taymiyyah and his followers try to introduce Imam Hussain alayhi salam, a person who has fought with the Khalifa, but all of the Ahl Sunnah now accept that the Imam Hussain alayhi salam correctly fighted with the Yazid and the Umar Assad and like these things. And this is very important point. But I believe that if we try to introduce the Arba'in as a slogan for all of the Muslims, Shia and Sunnis, and we can use from Arba'in, we can use Arba'in as a way to convergence or to unify the Muslims, Shia and Sunnis. So we see that in Iraq, from the Fallujah, from Nainawa, Salahuddin, Al-Anbar, many of the Ahl Sunnah have come for the Arba'in seminary, and they have participated in all of these programs. So it is very important for us to introduce that the Arba'in and the Imam Hussain alayhi salam event was not only belong to the Shia and even it's not belong only to the Muslims, even Shia and Sunnis, but this is the revolution which belongs to all of the humanity and all of the human being. So we should try to introduce this. In Arba'in, we see that all of the Muslims, Shia and Sunni, peacefully try to show very huge message, very large message to all of the humanity, that the Imam Hussain revolution is the peaceful revolution. Although the Imam Hussain alayhi salam gave his blood for the Allah, but actually this is a peaceful revolution. Why? Because you see all of the people who participate in Arba'in and other aspects of Imam Hussain alayhi salam seminaries, they don't have any problem with each other. They don't fight with each other. Even they have many different in their ideas and ideology, but they accepted that Imam Hussain alayhi salam is not only belong to the Shia, but Imam Hussain alayhi salam belonged to the Shia and Sunnis and all of the humanities. So especially in current years, we see that the Ahl Sunnah have come to Imam Hussain alayhi salam very much, and so I know some scholars, some people who are very in high level of knowledge, who have come to the Imam Hussain alayhi salam thoughts. They have accepted Imam Hussain alayhi salam as a pioneer in the Islamic thoughts. So, for example, I can't remember the name of these persons, but in many places like Lucknow, in Hyderabad, in many different places, I met many scholars and prominent persons who have accepted Imam Hussain alayhi salam, and they have told me we can introduce Imam Hussain alayhi salam as a pioneer in Islamic movement nowadays. And the Imam Hussain alayhi salam doesn't only belong to the, for example, last time, but the Imam Hussain and its revolution is fresh now, and all of the people can obey and follow the Imam Hussain alayhi salam thought. So I believe that if we try to practically introduce the thoughts of Karbala and practically introduce the capacities of Arba'in for the Shia and Ahl Sunnah, the Arba'in movement has this capacity to become a way for unity and unification of all of the Muslims all around the world. So in this Arba'in, I have many relations with some of the not Muslims, with some Muslims, Ahl Sunnah and non-Muslims, who try to participate to the Arba'in movement, but they don't have the facilities, they don't have this, for example, chance to participate in. So I believe that if we try to introduce the two things, the first, the capacity of Imam Hussain alayhi salam as a leader for the human being, and now for the current human being, and the second one, if we introduce the capacity of the Arba'in as a very huge movement to unify, to introduce the Imam Hussain alayhi salam thoughts to the others, I believe that we can decrease the tensions of the not only Muslim world, but all of the world tensions through the morality, through the cultural tensions and like these things. So I believe that we only till now look at Arba'in as a ritual action, as a manasik, but we should try to introduce Arba'in as a political, cultural, strategical, and the economical movement or event now, which can solve many of the problems of the humanity now. Thank you very much for this webinar, and thank you for I thank from the Culture House of Iran in Delhi, and also the Al Bayan International Institute of Al Bayan in Iran. And thank you very much. And I thanks from Dr. Mehdi Baqir also.
Thank you very much, Hujjatul Islam al Muslimin, Dr. Alizadeh Musavi, for your thought-provoking information shared by you on this topic. Rightly said, we have to see the inner side of these rituals and philosophy and the practices related to the Arba'in and Ashura and the morning programs, because the philosophy and the inner side of these rituals have a great message for entire humanity. And we should not contain ourselves till to the only superficial activities and the physical activities and all that, but we have to look to the philosophy and the deeper side of these kind of practices which are going on in the name of Karbala, in the name of Azadari, in the name of mornings throughout the world. And that is the great asset for us, and which can be very useful for entire society of the human brotherhood of the world. So now we are going to listen Dr. Muhammad Ali, the Department of Islamic Studies, Jamia Millia Islamia, one of the renowned University of India, and one of the great Department of Islamic Studies in India. We have a young man, a young potential, a very much promising, I think, Islamic scholar, and very much aware kind of Islamic scholar, as far as I personally found him in the different discussions about the Islamic issues. And the open kind of thought process he have, I have become really, very much hopeful for his endeavor, for his bright future. So I would like to call him Dr. Muhammad Ali. We are ready to hear you.
Thank you very much, sir, for this wonderful introduction. Assalamu alaikum to the distinguished scholars and audience here. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. First of all, I would like to thank Al Bayan Institute, Iran Culture House, and my respected teacher, Mehdi Bakar Khan Saab, for organizing this wonderful event and giving me an opportunity to participate in it. I'm really honored and delighted to be here. Before I start my topic, my discussion, I would also like to thank Ali Zade Musavi Sahib for pointing out that Imam Hussain could be a common ground. It can be a common point to start a dialogue between Sunni and Shia communities around the world. Because as I belong to a Sunni community, I brought up in a Sufi and Sunni atmosphere, and we have always been commemorating Imam Hussein's martyrdom, his shahadat, and we call it Chahallum, state of and so I tell you that yesterday my mother called me and said that it's Chahallum and you should pray for Imam Hussain. So it's in our tradition, in Sunni tradition as well, and Imam Hussain is highly revered. His shahadat we all commemorate every year, and I think that it can be a very common ground for the two communities to come together and start a dialogue, and it can be a beginning. And I really appreciate Musavi Sahib for pointing out it. Thank you very much. So I would like to commence my discussion with the following couplets. And so these are the couplets. Shah Ast Hussain, Badshah Ast Hussain, Deen Ast Hussain, Deen Panast Hussain, Sardar Nadar Dast Dar Dast Yazid, Hakka Ki Binaye La Ilaha Ast Hussain. So as these couplets are ascribed to one of the very, very famous Indian Sufis, Khaja Moinuddin Chishti, who died 1230 AD in Ajmer. And these couplets are also very popular among the Muslims of the subcontinent and are invoked frequently on the occasion of Zikr Imam Hussain. As far as my memory of listening to the couplets is concerned, this invocation serves only as a part of the rhetoric and performance of speakers on the stage. Generally, they do not venture to dive deep into the meanings of the couplets, especially the last one, and explain it to the people who assume themselves to be the bearer of the legacy of Imam Hussain. I never understood what Muinuddin Chishti meant by declaring Hussain the foundation of La ilaha, which is the deen itself. When I received the invitation to this program and became aware that it was being organized under a general yet very relevant and profound theme, Imam Hussain, a common human asset, I was motivated to find a common value that is universal for all times and all people in Hussain. During my research, I came across very aspects of Hussein's life, since his personality has inspired several human values and perfected them throughout the years. The value attracted my attention the most is freedom, freedom of mind, freedom of will, freedom of consciousness, which is so dignified that he risked his own life and of his kin and friends to preserve it for posterity. Freedom of mind or consciousness or freedom of will to choose has been perhaps the most distinguished value to humankind throughout history. Seeking freedom is natural and our existence yearns for it. However, there is another force of tyranny and authoritarianism which oppressed freedom for centuries and never let it actualize fully. In our entire history, we are the most successful people. We the modern people in modern era. I think we are the most successful people who could build our civilization on the very foundation of this certain value. But this does not mean that tyranny and authoritarianism has been disappeared from the picture. Instead, there is a constant collision between the two. And humans still need to fight against tyranny and authoritarianism to preserve their dearest value. And this is where the legacy of Imam Hussain can shine the most and lead the way. Let me recall the last line of the couplets of Muinuddin Chishti, Haqqa ki binaye la ilaha as Hussain, meaning that Hussain is the foundation, the very embodiment of the idea that there is only one God and Lord, Rabb, the one supreme being, to whom mankind should bow, to whom mankind should do sajda, and to whom mankind should look forward to seek supplication. In one of, but no one other than God, other than our Rabb, other than Allah. Quran address the Supreme Being as Allah. So other than Allah, other than Rabb, no one on the earth has right to subjugate the freedom, the will of humankind. In one of his poems in Rumuze Bekhudi, Iqbal Lahori, or also known as Dr. Iqbal or Allama Iqbal in the subcontinent. So Iqbal Lahori has interpreted this passion of Hussain, this passion of Imam Hussain to restore the value of freedom and establish it for posterity by sacrificing himself as Ishq. Drawing on the Sufi tradition of Islam, Iqbal views Ishq as the perfect version of faith. As true Ishq requires loyalty from an ashiq or a lover. And in the case of a faithful, only one Lord, Allah, Khuda. By using this metaphor, Iqbal is trying to imply that for Hussain, surrendering to Yazid's oppression and accepting him as his king was tantamount to betrayal from his Lord or his Mashuk or beloved. He writes, Har ki paiman ba huwal mawjood bas, gardanash az band har ma'bood ras. This also meant that for Hussain, freedom of consciousness was not just a value, but was also a fundamental of Islam, which he was not ready to relinquish. When Yazid extended the throne in Syria and tried to force people and oppress their freedom, to Hussain, he was actually demolishing and corrupting the idea of freedom in Islam, which is humankind is only bound to bow bow in front of one God and no one else. Actually, when I was reading this, so some people in the modern period, they are trying to say that Yazid's Khilafat or Yazid's rule was anonymous and accepted by everyone. It was unanimous and accepted by every companion and everyone. So, but according to Ahl Sunnah, according to the tradition of Ahl Sunnah, I think I do not need to explain it. Of course, you people may be aware of it, that according to the Ahl Sunnah, the Khilafat of Yazid or the rule of Yazid was never established, because Amir Muawiyah, he tried to force, or he tried to by bribing or by forcing people, he made them ready to accept Yazid's allegiance, Yazid's Khilafat. So such type of Khilafat was not such type of Khilafat according to the principle of Islam. It was not. It was never established, and that's why Hussein or Imam Hussein, he stood against this operation. He stood against this corruption of Islamic values, this corruption of the idea of Khilafat. So it was legitimized, and those so accepting this is the Zaruriyat al-Sunnah. If someone is not, if someone is denying the martyrdom of Imam Hussain, so he is not considered to be one of the Ahl Sunnah. Well, so I was saying that if person tries, if a person, because we Muslims, according to Islam, our itaat is only to God, and if someone is trying to lead us according to their hawa, according to their will, not according to Islam, so we are not bound to their hawa, we are not bound to their orders. So Yazid was trying to lead his people, lead Imam Hussain according to his hawa, and Imam Hussain was not bound to do so. So I think that that's why I say that if a person tries to subjugate another person's will or consciousness, he is a tyrant, and people are bound to oppose them. So as Iqbal says, "Ma siwallara Musalman bandanis, pesh Firauni sarash afkandanis." Imam Hussain has been a symbol of justice and bravery against tyranny. One can imagine if Hussain had surrendered to Yazid, what would have left for us as an inspiration to against tyranny and authoritarianism. We have examples of people among Muslims who deny Hussein's sacrifice and are happy with their subjugation. They are misguided by their interpretation of the idea of Itaat-e Amir. For Hussain, an unjust and tyrant is not qualified to rule or lead. People are free to follow their consciousness, and it is incumbent upon the faithful to oppose it. It is an irony. I'm just going to sum it up. Just a few more minutes. It is an irony that after the Shahadat of Imam Hussain, the course of Muslim history was not directed towards personal freedom. It was hijacked by tyrants and authoritarians. Even though people remember the sacrifice, the message of Imam Hussain, but they did not actualize it into their actions. I do not blame history, since wishing that it should run a different course is just wishful thinking. However, today it is upon us to actualize the legacy of Imam Hussain by creating an atmosphere for a theology of freedom for all. Hussein's sacrifice is immortalized as a metaphor of sabr and raza and adl wa taqwa, and will always inspire us to follow in his footsteps. So there are some couplets of Iqbal. Iqbal ends his poem with these couplets. Ramz Quran az Hussain amukhtim, zi atishe u sholaha andukhtim, shawkate shamo fade Baghdad raf, satwate gharna saham az yad raf, darima az zakhme ash تارما از زخمش لرزاں ہنوب تازہ از تکبیر او ایما ہنوب اے صبا اے پی کے دور افتادگان اشک ماں بر خاک پاک او رسان. شکریہ.
Thank you, Dr. Muhammad Ali, for your great analysis and your opinions about the governing system in the post-prophet era and the competency of the caliphates and the kind of the governance which Islam, had in a post-prophet era, and whether they were complying with the criteria, they were fulfilling the criteria or not, and people are free to follow that and these things really. But the one thing which is I think today has been discussed and it was I think it is something common outcome of this webinar is this, that Imam Hussain and his Ashura movement is something very much relevant to our era, and even after that till the day doomsday. It will be need of the era, it will be need of the humanity. There will be some messages, there will be lessons for the entire mankind, and it is a common platform, it is a common I think asset which has to be spread out among the different societies, and people should get benefited from these things, and all aware kind of people or learned persons who know about the history about the Imam Hussain, they must follow, and they must go through this literature, and they must spread this these preachings and this message to others also, so that people could become aware about this peace message, and people could have some courage for resistance in front of the oppressors and in front of the other non-social kind of elements throughout the world, which is really harmful for human society. So with these words, I would like to thank to our all participants and our intellectuals all the way from Iran, from India. One by one, I would like to thank to all of you for giving your precious time and dedicated your time to this webinar, and of course our viewers, our followers on the YouTube channel also, which is going on live on that YouTube channel of Iran Culture. Also, I would like to thank to our viewers also, and on the behalf of Al Bayan Institute and Iran Culture House, New Delhi, once again I would like to thank to all of you, and I hope that in future we can have more and more this kind of academic and thought-provoking programs. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.